Hi guys, welcome back. So in this authentication video we are going to do the lab for authentication. This is the first part of that lab, and then I will add another part on top of it. In this one we are going to use the same area for all the routers. So our basic task is as always, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to verify that my connectivity is fine or my addressing is fine. So first on all routers I will be running to verify that my interface IPs are fine. So this is router 1, so 12.1 is fine, 111 is fine. So router 2 have two of them, so we have 12.2 which is fine, and then 23.2, and then 1112, this is also fine. On router 3 we have 34.3, 0 1 by 0 going 34.3, and then 0 1 by 1 going 23.3. This is fine, and then we have a loopback of 113. Let's go on router 4. Router 4 has 34.4 which is fine on 1 by 0, and then on 1 by 1 we have 45.4 which is fine, and 1114. So far what I see is that my IP addressing is fine, so it means that I should be able to ping my directly connected neighbor, which is 2, and 2 should be able to ping 3, and 3 should be able to ping 4, and 4 should be able to ping 5. Okay, so far so good. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to enable OSPF. That's so the base config is done, so part 1 is done. On the second one we're going to configure all router in OSPF area 0 and advertiser connected interface. So we can do it pretty simply, like we can say config t router OSPF 1, and then inside the router ID we can say that router ID of router 1 is 001. Okay, and then router ID of 2 is 2, and then router ID is 003, and then router 4 router ID is 004, and then 5 we have router ID of 005. Okay, and then we can go back to the whole site and we can say network 000 in area 0. So if that is the case, we can have a good relationship with all of them, right? Or we can do specific. So in this case, because we have to run it on all of them, so we don't care. So now if I look at my route for OSPF, I have the reachability till 115, which is fine. So like if I ping 1115 with the source of my loopback 0, I have the connectivity, and if I do the trace for the same, you can see that I'm going to 2, then 3, then 4, and then going to 5. So this is fine. So everything is fine. Everything is working fine. OSPF is up and running. So our second point is done. Now let's see how can we set up the plain text authentication on a serial links, on all the serial links, using router configuration command. Now when we say using router configuration command, means that we have to go inside the router OSPF 1 and we have to do IP OS what's that, authentication, where is that? That was area 0 authentication, and in that authentication we have two. Either we have, if you just put area 0 authentication, then it's a plain text, and if we do message digest, then we have the MD5 one. So this is for the whole area, and that was they say that use plain text authentication on all serial links, and these are all serial links, using a router configuration command. Use password Cisco. Okay, but remember we have area 0 authentication, but we do not have area 0 password, right? So it means that for password we have to go inside interfaces and set the password there. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say end to all, so that I'm sure that I'm outside on every router. Then I will go into OSPF 1, and then I will say area 0 authentication or authentication. Okay, so now plain text is enabled, and if I debug IP OSPF think it's first of all, don't do it here, let's do it here. Debug IP OSPF, and then we can say events or packets. Let's do packets, and let's see what we are going to see with this one, right? Because they should be sending, yeah, they are sending it out. So let's do undebug off, and let's see, let's analyze this. So this is telling me that I'm using version 2 of OSPF, and my and what else we have? We have type, which is type 1. This should be the TTL of these messages, set to 1. Then we have length. The length of the message is 48 bytes. Then we have router ID. This is coming in from router ID of 2. This is going out to router ID from router ID 1. Then area ID or area is 0, right? Then we have authentication, which is 1. So when you see 1, it means that this is a plain text is already being there. If I remove that command from here, let's say if I go into OSPF 1 and I say no, and then do debug IP OSPF packet, wait for a bit, wait, let's see what's going to show me. Okay, so I can do undebug all. So you can see that now it's authentication 0, means that I am not doing any authentication. So the authentication 0 means no authentication, and authentication 1 means that's the simple text. And if I do MD5 here, for example, if I just do this guy and just do message digest and do the debug, so you will see what's going to happen. Okay, so this is coming in and this is going out, and you can see that, clearly see that authentication is 2, which is message digest. So these things are out of our way. We know that if we need to figure out, we can figure out that what the neighbor is sending or what we are sending to the neighbor, right? In both cases, because we are receiving it and we are sending it. Let's say the neighbor router is not under our administration, so we can run this debug and we'll find out what kind of authentication they are running. Okay, so in our case we are running plain text. We are supposed to run plain text, right? Plain text authentication. Now in all the serial interfaces, we have to set the password, right? So it means that I have to go into serial 1 by 0 and I have to say IP OSPF what is that, authentication and authentication key, and then I have to put the password. So in this case the password was given is Cisco, right? So this is the password I have to set. Now when I set the password, I should lose my neighbor. So let's see if I'm losing my neighbor or not. So right now it's full. Let's see. IP OSPF interface serial 1 by 0. So this is showing me that simple password authentication is enabled. So that is fine. Loading full done. And there we go. So that is expired. So now if I do show IP OSPF neighbor, so now I don't have any neighbor because I am sending, and if I do a debug IP OSPF packet, you will see that I am sending the password and there should be some message of password mismatch, or the sender is not sending the password. So we have this. So we are receiving this, but our checksum doesn't match, right? So you can see that our checksum is not matching. So I'm not gonna change it. I'm not gonna stop the debug. What I'm going to do is that I will go to router 2 and do the configuration of that. So if I go there and I do IP OSPF authentication key of Cisco again, and let's see the debug, because the neighbor should come up now. There we go. The neighbor came up and my checksum is still not matching. So it means that this checksum is not for the password. So I'm not aware of the command which shows the password. That's a plain text password, so it should be shown in some debug packet. So I never run that, so I don't know which one is that. And now you can see that now it's equal. Yeah, you see that was not correct, but now you can see that now the checksum are same. Checksum is for the password. That was correct. I read it in some book for OSPF. So you can see that we have the same checksum. So checksum does, if you see the messages output and you don't know why it's not coming up, if the checksum is different, that means the password is not safe. So let's undebug all. So this is done. So this is done for 1 and 2. So for 2 and 3 we can do the same. We can say interface here 1 by, which one is doing 1 by 1, and we can say IP OSPF authentication key Cisco. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this, and then I will just go there and do the same for interface 0 1 by 0 and interface 0 1 by 1, and then I will do on router 4 interface 0 1 by 0 and interface 0 1 by 1, and then I will do it on router 5 interface 0 1 by 0 and interface 0 1 by 1. Actually only 1 by 1, there is no 1 by 0 here. So let me go into 1 by 0 and I would say this. Okay, so now if we look at show IP OSPF interface serial 1 by 0, which will show on 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? Not on 5, and 1 by 1. So if you go back, so 1 by 1 other one doesn't have that. So if you look at this one, we have simple password authentication enabled, and we have the password running, right? So that is, it doesn't show us that what password we have here. Then if I so show IP OSPF interface 1 by 0, and if we just grab include password, so we have simple password enabled for both 1 by 0 and 1 by 1. So you can see, right? So there we go. We have a mistake here as well. Show IP OSPF interface 0 1 by 0, include password and 1 by 1, because this is order 3, so we should have on both. So both of them have it. So right, same should be good here. Show IP OSPF interface 0 1 by 0, include password. So it is showing us that the simple authentication is enabled. This is also showing us simple authentication enabled on 1 by 1. On 5 you already see that it's enabled. Right, so this is one way. This is one way we did it. Everybody's running, everybody's happy. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna remove it, right? So to remove it, what we will do, we'll go into router OSPF 1 and we say no area 0 authentication, right? And what we will do, we will also show run interface 0 1 by 0 and 1 by 1. So when we remove it, you see that it's still the interface level command is still there on all of them, right? So interface level command is there, so we have to remove the interface level command as well. So let's remove the interface level command on all of them. So 0 1 by 0, and I will just copy with the no. Let's do it on order 2. So we have both interface, so 1 by 0 and interface 0 1 by 1, and then we will go on order 3. We have both interfaces, so we will do interface 0 1 by 0 and interface 0 1 by 1, and then we'll go to order 4. We have both interfaces again. We will do the same, and then on order 5 we have only one interface, which is 0 1 by 1. So now it is all clear. So whatever we did on 3, we removed it. So now let's move on to 5. Okay, in this one it's asking us to use the MD5 authentication on serial links using router configuration command and use the password Cisco. Again, the password Cisco. So okay, not a problem. So we can go on router OSPF 1, and as I told you already, just say authentication message digest, and everybody will be start sending the authentication message that they want, MD5 authentication. So if I do neighbor check, this is fine. Let's see what's gonna happen. So we are not losing any neighbor. Let's see route. We still have the route. Let's ping 5 with the source of loopback 0. We still have it. And if you look at OSPF, so as long as the password is not set, it's fine, right? So let's set the password now, because we have to set the password on all the interfaces. So I will just show you how we gonna do it here. IP OSPF authentication. Now we are going to use the authentication key, but this time we're gonna use we are not going to use the simple text. So this command will not work, because this command is not showing us that we have to send message digest. So if we do OSPF message digest key, if you look at here, you see message digest key. So if I do IP OSPF message digest key and then the key ID, so in this case I will say key ID 1 and then MD5 and then use a password. So the password is the same for us. So let's do Cisco. So this is what we need to do. Now once we have provided the password, and now I will use the connectivity. So if I do show IP OSPF neighbor, this neighbor will go down because I'm sending him the password Cisco and he's not sending me anything. We'll wait for this to go down before we go on router 2 and fix it. You see the timer is coming down. 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 0. And we have a message. Okay, so now it's expired. So let's go on router 2 and do the same command on both the interfaces. So this is what they are asking us to do as per the lab. So let's do that. Serial 1 by 0. This one, and interface serial 1 by 1. This one. 3, 150, interface serial 1 by 0. This one. Serial 1 by 1. This one. And config interface serial 1 by 0, this one, and interface serial 1 by 1, this one. So this is an easy task, right? So we will spice it up in another one. So now we have all the input and there. So if I do show IP route OSPF right now, well, 5 is receiving everything. I did really quick, right? So all my neighbors got it. All my neighbors got it, and I can still ping. Just to verify that I can still ping loopback 0 out of 5 and I can reach it, right? So that is fine. So in 6 they are asking us to remove it again. Okay, so let's remove it. So config T, no, okay, router OSPF 1, no area 0 authentication. So if I do no area 0 authentication, I should be removing everything. So if I do show run section router OSPF, I have removed everything. If I would have typed no area 0 authentication message digest, I would have removed only area 0 authentication. Or area 0 authentication should remain in the configuration. So if you want to verify, let's verify that. So if I have typed area 0 authentication message digest, okay, so if I run this command, you see that I have it here, right? And if I just do no here, and if I run this, okay, so in the new version it goes away. Usually what happens that it just removes this part and it remains this one. Okay, in this case they have removed it. Perfect. So now we have removed it. What we need to do is we also need to remove it from the interface level. So let's remove it from the interface level as well. So let's go into the serial 1 by 0. Let's see if we can do it all in one. Let's see. Config interface 1 by 0, and let's say no IP OSPF message digest. No, then we can't do that. Message digest. What is that? Message message digest key 1. Okay, just put 1. Okay, so that is fine. So 1 is enough. So if you go interface CL 1 by 1 and do the same, so it should remove from every router. So you can run to run include message digest key. So I don't have it on router 1, I don't have it on router 2, 3, 4, 5. So it means it's removed. So that is fine. So we found the shortcut to remove from everywhere. Now they are asking in 7th step that we should use MD5 between router 1 and router 2 using router configuration and using the password CCNP. So let's do that. So if I do go here and let's say router area 0 authentication and MD5, so we have to put message digest here. And if I go here and do configure router OSPF 1 area 0 authentication message digest, and then on router 1 and 2 we are paying attention to the password of CCNP. So let's do that. Let's go into area 1 by 0 and say IP OSPF message digest E1 MD5, and the password is, what is that, CCNP, like this. Let's copy that. I don't want to repeat this. And then go to router 2 and do the same. Say 1 by 0 and do this. So now you can see that from 3 we have gone down, right? Because we need a password for message registry, right? So router 3 goes down. Between router 3 and router 2 we lost, but 3 still have. Show IP OSPF has 4 and 4 still have 5. So we have an issue. We have the communication here. So if we look at the show IP OSPF neighbor, we have to, if I do show IP route, I have that route. If I do OSPF only, I have the OSPF route, but between 1 and 2 only. So what we can do to fix this issue, because we just want to do authentication between these two and not between all these 3. So there are 2 ways. Either I can go ahead and enable authentication on 3, 4 and 5, right? Or I can disable the authentication. That can also be done, that I can disable the authentication. We are on step number 7. Okay, so that is easy. So that is how we can play. So let's do on both sides. Okay, let's do both ends. Let's first enable between 3, 4 and 5 without any password. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna go here and then I'm gonna say router OSPF 1 and I will say authentic area 0 authentication message digest. And because I did it here, I have to do it here as well. So configure router OSPF 1 area 0 authentication message digest, and then on router 5 I have to do the same. Configure router OSPF 1 area 0 message digest. So now with this, even though I do not have a key, my neighbor is still up, right? Because authentication is up and router is not sending me any password, I'm not sending any password, so we are fine. We have a nobody authentication key, but it is fine. So it means that from router 1, if I want to ping on 115 with the source of loop like 0, it is going to work, right? So this is one way. The other way what we can do is that we can disable authentication, okay, on the interface 1 by 1 of router 2, right? So what will happen if you disable authentication on that one, then we do not need to do this authentication command between 3, 4 and 5. So let's do that. So let's remove it. Router OSPF 1 and let's say no, then go to 4. So this is the second method. We'll do no and then 5 and then this do no. Okay, so this is what we have done. And what we will do that we'll go on router 2. We will go in interface 1 by 1 because that's going towards router 3. Okay, so that's going towards router 3. So what we're gonna do is that we will just say IP OSPF authentication and then we have the null keyword there. So we can just say null. Do not send authentication there. Now it went down, it went full to down, right? Because we were, and now it came back up. And with that, we still have the full reachability. Just give it time because it just become a neighbor. So you see, it came back up. So there are two. So by doing this, we introduces an issue and then we fixed it. And to fix it, we have two things that we can fix it. Now, the 8th is saying between router 1 and router 2 using path CCNP2 without interrupting the link operation. Okay, that's easy. So it means that what we have, if you look at do show run interface serial 1 by 0, you see that we have key 1 MD5, right? So what we need to do is that we need to go into interface serial 1 by 0 and we have to say IP OSPF message digest. Instead of key 1, we use key 2 MD5 and we will use CCNP2. And if you look now, if you look at do show IP OSPF interface serial 1 by 0, you will see that rollover is in progress. I haven't lost anything. I can still ping if I have that ping. I can still ping, but the rollover is in progress. Okay, one neighbor is using the old key, and that neighbor we know that is router 2. So if I go on router 2 and I just do this 1 by 0 and I say IP OSPF message digest key ID 2 with the MD5 of CCNP2, and now if I run that command, you will see that youngest key ID is 2. It's no longer saying me that it's rollover in progress. It's already been done. So I haven't done anything. So this is pretty easy. Now 9th is saying configure router 4 and 5 using as password. Do not use router configuration command. So that's very easy. So if you go on router 4 and we are using MD5, so interface here 1 by 1, we can say IP OSPF authentication, and first we define the authentication, that what kind of authentication we are going to do, but we are defining it in the under the interface. So if you look at before I do that, right? Actually, before I do that, let me show you that I am not running any authentication on this router. Why have I done anything? So OSPF. Okay, so you can see that I'm not running any authentication here. I'm receiving a message that there's no valid key. Okay, so let's go on to 3. Let's verify. I'm not running any authentication here as well, just to verify. Okay, sometimes I do run something and then I forgot. No, not running. Okay, so let's go on 4. So what I'm gonna do, serial 1 by 1 is on, so show run interface serial 1 by 1. Am I running something? Yeah, I'm running message digest here. So I just need to put the password now. So let's go there 1 by 1 and just put the password IP OSPF. Now because it's message digest, so we need to use this command, and MD5 and password is name 45, and that's what our password is. So we do the same on our 5. We go here, we say IP OSPF authentication message digest, and we say IP OSPF message digest key 1 MD5 CNA 45, and we are good to go. So now if you look at your IP OSPF neighbor, it becomes full again, right? And if I ping 111 with the source of 2.0, I should be able to ping router 1, and you can see that I'm able to ping, right? So here we go. So this is the small lab. This is part A. In part B, what we are going to do is that we're going to change the areas. So we'll do some areas, and then we'll see how the different area authentication will work. I hope that you have learned something. If you have any question, put the comments. Have a good day, guys. See you in the next video.